Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 19 of What If Naruto Universe Had Quirks. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other What Ifs of the other channels. Yes, I indeed have 4 channels. All links will be down in the description guys, so go ahead, check them out, and yeah, enjoy. And don't forget to comment down below and tell me if you're new so I can welcome you personally to the channel. And also turn on the bell notification to see exactly when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or wasting no more time, what do you say we jump right into this brand new episode? Begin now guys. So the last spot we left off, Minato arrived as he saw the scene. Paul had led him towards the location as he saw the mangled corpse of his sensei. Written in Jiraiya's blood was a message to him. "You're next." It was from Naruto. Minato was now panicking as he never thought. He now saw that Naruto possessed the All Might quirk that they stole from that boy when they eradicate his village. Minato was afraid, seeing the true power that his son now wielded, far greater than what he expected. He returned back to Konoha and he played on the people's sympathy. The order for Naruto's death was now the main subject of everything. There was no more bring back alive. Death, killing, that's all. So the family was taking this big as well. Tsunade was taking this big as well. Kushina had resolved herself to stop Naruto at any means necessary. She had to worry about her family that actually care about her and her new little baby girl. She had to make sure that they were safe. Mito had the same mindset. Menma was training as usual. His anger not yet reaching its limit. It was limitless. All he wanted was to see Naruto dead at his feet. That was all. We then skipped to Orochimaru, who had a feeling something was terribly wrong. Naruto should be back by now. Something was wrong. Kabuto, who was walking through the facility, was panicking. He was the one that leaked the information. His master could not see, but he could. Naruto was a threat that needed to be dealt with before it was too late. However, that is when it happened. The base was broken in half. A strange plant-like creature emerged and destroyed it into 2 pieces. As chaos ensued, Orochimaru exited the base and made his way outside, only to see the monster. He ended up summoning bones from the ground, a quirk that he stole, and sliced the beast right in half as he tore a giant bone through its stomach. However, it recovered after that, as it started to destroy everything. Orochimaru released his wrath upon the beast, destroying it as he clashed with Naruto, who came down. Naruto told him that he shouldn't have trusted him. Orochimaru was shocked when Naruto started to show off quirks that belonged to several members, as Naruto was gone for a long while because he went to all of Orochimaru's previous bases and killed every single one of them, taking their quirks. The Sannin was furious. He was pissed. A furious battle then entailed between both of the men as they threw down, releasing all of their might on one another. Naruto did not waste any time as he powered up. He could only use 50% of the All Might quirk, but he was getting stronger. Adding that with Jiraiya's quirk and his natural physical strength, he was a monster. Orochimaru was pulverized. Naruto then absorbed every single quirk that he had, which was 10. His power just increased a lot. Kabuto and several others in the base were brought to Naruto. by his Phoenix flytraps. He then sucked out every single one of their quirks before he plummeted Orochimaru base to hell, destroying everything. We then skipped to the Akatsuki as they were talking about their goals and their desire. Nagato had a plan that would change the Elemental Nation forever. However, he was not the only one. The Masked Man also had a plan as well, who they were partners for the moment. And also Naruto had a plan as well. However, unlike them, Naruto had a feel of all tail beasts. Since his chakra siphoning from the Shikaku, he could tell where they were. The closer he got, the stronger it gets. As Deidara and Sasori decided to depart to the sun, it would take them some time. Later that night, Naruto was attacking the village. He had heat vision that he got from Orochimaru, as he started to create chaos all over. The walls were quickly manned, but Naruto destroyed them instantly. As he started to rip and tear right through people, it did not take too long for Rasa to show up, father of Gaara. However, Gaara stopped him. Gaara lost his pride, his hope back then, as he was unstoppable before, but now he was beaten by this boy, and it made him seem weak, so he wanted that. As Gaara knocked Naruto out of the village and started to fight him, showing how much he has grown in the past couple of years. His power had grown tremendously, as he clashed with Naruto, and he was actually overpowering him. Gaara had waited for this for so long, and now that it was finally in the palm of his hands, he was not going to let it slip away, as he brought down all of his might upon Naruto, crushing him. But to his shock, Naruto's quirk that he was using to block out all sound vanished, showing Gaara that he was fighting a puppet. No, it was a wooden clone. Gaara rushed inside the village to see his father and his siblings and the ninjas, all broken and battered. As Naruto stood there in the midst of it all, he had taken a lot of their quirk. The Sand was extremely weak in terms of raw power, and he knew if he was going to fight the village like Kumo, he would need all the power he can get. After seeing this display, Gaara completely lost it. Rage swallowed him completely, as he went crazy. With all of his might he attacked, as he brought out the full might of the Shikaku. Naruto simply grinned as he powered up, his power reaching new level as he started to push himself even further and further and further, his quirk exploding outwards in raw potential power. As the two beasts, because they could no longer be seen as man, rushed towards one another. So yeah guys, basically let's left off again. So hit across the play, check it out for yourself. So this way we jump right into this brand new episode begin. Now guys, one moment she was asleep, the next moment she jumped out of bed. Cold sweat running across her face, castrating down. It was none other than Masassa. As she looked around, she was in her room. It was late in the night, as she had been abruptly awoken by a rather terrible dream. There was chaos everywhere. In the center of all of this chaos was Naruto, fighting. There was so much destruction, so much blood, so much death. She had not talked to him in weeks now. She had no idea if he was okay, or what was going on. Her dreams were not bringing her towards him, or bringing them in that space where they connected and talked to one another, and she did not know why. She knew that her father and mother had started operations with the organization that was led by them, the Akatsuki. She had overheard her father discussing private meetings. However, her father and mother did not want her to be involved, even though they told her things to make sure she understand what they stand for. They did not want her involved or a part of the organization. They want her to continue what she was doing, going on missions and representing as a Kunoichi of the Hidden Rain, which she has been doing valiantly for the past couple of years. She had grown in stature and rank throughout the village, and she was happy because of that. Because of who her parents were, there were several expectations on her shoulders, and people already praising her. Her mother was seen as an angel for Kami's sake. However, she had proven that she was a force to be reckoned with by herself, and she was always happy when she heard her comrades praising her strength when she was on missions as she displayed after defeating the enemy. That brought her great joy. But for the past couple of years, her conversations with Naruto has been nice. He might seem like a bad person, but talking to him for the past couple of years, she had gotten a better understanding of him. Yes, she was able to view his memories and feel his pain, but she knew nothing about him. Memories were one thing, but understanding the person was different. And he was a very complex person. It was almost like it did not matter what she learned from his memories. He was just so complex. And she thinks she figured him out. After all, when they spoke, they no longer cursed at one another. It was a lot better. However, this dream that she just had startled her, and she had no idea what he was up to. She could only hope that their minds would connect very soon, so she could speak to him. Meanwhile, that was going on. At the hidden sand, outside of the village, the massive beast was hurled. Yes, the giant Shikaku was hurled backwards, as something had thrown it with such force. The beast had slammed and hit and rolled. However, Gaara, who was on the thing's head, who had full control over it, righted the Shikaku back up. Gaara looked down below as Naruto stepped out of the village perimeters. He was simply walking. His entire body was cloaked in a golden aura that illuminated the darkness. The sky was pitch black. It was almost like no light would shine in this area, and Naruto was that light that illuminated everything. Gaara did not waste any time as he slammed his hand down. "You fool!" he shouted, his voice sounding demonic because of the transformation. The fluctuation of chakra through its vocal cords, making him sound deadly. "You really thought you could come in the sand and fight me? I'll crush you," he said, plundering both of Shikaku's hands into the sand. The entire ground lifted up. Yes, Naruto was also lifted up as well and brought into the sky. Trapped inside of a ball, Shikaku raised his hand and clenched it. Boom! The sand imploded. As Gaara looked up with a vicious smile, the sand started to rain back down as Gaara saw pieces of Naruto, his hands, his legs, his chest, and his head. But something was wrong. Something was... BAM! A brutal fist slam right into the chest of Shikaku, throwing the beast back once again. As Naruto's chest floated upwards, his body then started to rematerialize. This wasn't regeneration, this was Kabuto's quirk. The moment he got captured, he split his body part into pieces. Whenever Kabuto was in this state, he could flatten his body parts, flatten his eyeball to creep and crawl into the most secretive area. Just a little crack, anything that was needed, Kabuto could break his body down and pass through it, piece by piece. So that is why Naruto was completely unharmed, and he sent his hand to slam right in Shikaku's chest. The might of Naruto's punch blasted the beast back. Gaara raged out as he screamed in frustration. For his entire life he was told that he was special. He was the pride of his father's eyes. He was always the one at the forefront, said to be the next greatest Kazekage to take over for his father. But after that humiliation, after that defeat, Gaara started to lose it, his mind getting corrupted, rage overtaking his sanity. He was no longer thinking straight. As he started to suck the sand up, yes, he was sucking up the sand, as Naruto watched the sand leave his feet. As Gaara had lost his mind, he was sucking everything up. It was too much for his mind to handle. He was sucking it all in. As Naruto stood there, as he looked up towards the titanic beast, he had tripled in size. He now had 4 arms. Gaara quirk blend nicely with the one-tail quirk. The both of them were like 2 halves that combined into something more deadly. His 4 massive arms, their claws extended. His face was set into a snarl. The shuriken in its eyes were glowing. Gaara seemed to be in a state of consciousness and unconsciousness. In between, because his mind had seemingly fused with the beast, because he had lost it. Right now, the beast was not Shikaku in control or either Gaara. It was just the sand itself, a mindless powerhouse, ready to bring down devastation and destruction. That is what it wanted right now. And its eyes were set on Naruto. Its arm came down. The entire place shook. A massive crater was left in its wake. However, nobody was left there. The beast could not find him. As for Naruto, Naruto was running on the thing's arm at impressive speed. However, it felt him. Several massive tentacles made from sand lashed out, ready to pierce him. However, Naruto clapped his hand together and released a tremendous amount of force that blew them all away before he leaped up in the sky. While in mid-air, he held his hand up to the heavens. Steam started to release from his hand. As he clenched his fist so tight, his hand started to pulsate. It started to get larger and pulsate, the amount of power swelling, growing, and then he brought it down. However, Shikaku switched his face. Yes, the face switched and came around the back, its mouth wide open. However, Naruto simply grinned as he went straight in. The beast chomping down, but Naruto already passed through. Shikaku, the beast howled in rage, as it was gonna terrorize everything around it and create more chaos until its stomach started to grow and grow and grow and grow. Boom! A violent blast washed over the hidden sand. Bodies were thrown, buildings were thrown back. The blast resulted into a cataclysmic explosion that tear apart the entire sandy area. A distance away, making their way towards the scene, both men had to hunker down as a violent sandstorm washed over them. What the hell is going on? Deidara shouted out. I don't know, Sasori said, as both men had to hunker down, given their distance, and they still felt this pressure. Once the pressure died out, as Sasori looked towards Deidara, we have to get there quick, he said. Deidara created a bird from his clay, as the both of them hopped on and they made their way. Meanwhile, Naruto was covered in sand as he started to brush it off. He had released all of his power in that area. The moment he was down in the stomach, he released all of his might. All of the power that he gathered in that fist, he released it. And it expanded and blew. Naruto watched as the body of the Shikaku started to reform. There was no end to this. There was no stopping it, he thought to himself. His eyes started to glow red as beams shot from his eyes and started to tear apart the sand tentacles that tried to grab him. Naruto then sat down. In all the places to sit, he sat down right in the center. As he closed his eyes, he then started to take calm, deep breaths. The golden glow around him started to fizzle out as his body started to pulsate once again, but this time, his breath started to come out cold. Small particle of ice started to fall off his body as Naruto slammed his hand into the earth and pushed them deep and deep and deep until his eyes flashed blue. And then, the entire place froze over. Yes, it froze over. Gaara, who was in the process of having his body of the Shikaku remake because the sand seemed to be endless, was stabbed through his shoulder and through the guts. In that state, he was mindless, so he was not able to fully gather himself to prepare for the defense, and it was so quick. He rushed out in pain as his mind slowly starts to retake control of the situation. Another stab to the back, causing the Gaara to scream out in agonizing pain. When his eyes finally came to, the entire place was frozen. How? How is something like this even possible? How could someone freeze the desert? A large, colossal area was frozen over. Up in the sky a distance away. What the hell? Is that ice? Deidara said. Move faster, said Sasori. Back with Naruto, he looked at his hand. That took more than I expected, he said. as he walked forward calmly. Gaara tried to struggle to get up, but his body was pierced, and because of the ice, he could not shift his molecules into sand. He was so cold, he was trembling. "You will pay for this." Naruto crouched in front of him. "Yeah, maybe. But you won't be there to see it." Naruto had lashed out and grabbed him by the forehead. Gaara's eyes widened as his eyes turned white. So did Naruto's. This was the first time he was doing this. The black markings when he steal a quirk started to spread over Gaara's body. But this time they completely covered him. They went toward his seal and wrapped around it as they twist and curl around his body. Naruto felt it. He felt the push. His eyes flashed golden as he broke through. He then started to pull. Slowly but surely, the black markings started to glow, a brownish color. As it was being siphoned into Naruto, steam started to resonate from Naruto's body. As he started to steam, straight up to the heavens, steam filled the entire place. The power was burning into his system. Gaara screamed. It was a blood-curdling scream that could be heard all over. As he did not stop screaming until his body fell. Yes, he was left. His eyes wide open. There was no pupil, they were just completely white. He had no life left in him. It was then that Deidara and Sasori arrived on the scene. "What the hell is going on?" Deidara said. "He's been asking that question for the past 5 minutes." As none of them understand what was going on here. "Look," said Deidara, pointing down there. As they saw something, but there was so much steam they could not see clearly. Deidara lowered the bird as Sasori jumped off. Walking forward is right here, swaying in the wind. Sasori knew that something was up. Something was immediately. He created one of his puppets. It had no face, no physical features. It almost looked metallic. However, the ice spike that came out of the ground tore right through it. As Sasori was saved. As he skidded back, sand dusting up all over the place. "So that's where the ice is coming from," Deidara said, as he was completely unfazed by that action as he stood there. Slowly but surely, Naruto picked himself up, and he was different. Not much, but he felt it. And also, Naruto looked at his hand. In the center of his palm was a strange megatama, similar to the one in the Sharingan. It was just one of them though. It was up, not in the center, almost like more would be added in time. He could feel the power circulating through him. He could feel it. He could feel the control, he could feel everything. As his eyes wandered around the sand, slowly but surely, the ice on the ground started to melt. As Naruto's feet started to heat up, sending fire through the sand. The fight with Gaara could have been ended much easier with him using Madara's quirk, the fire that would burn and incinerate all, turning the sand into glass. However, Naruto wanted to see how he would deal with the handicap. If the odds were stacked against him, and he had to say, he did pretty well. There was a grin on his face as he felt the power circulating through him. His eyes then wandered up towards the members. "So I finally get to meet this Akatsuki organization. I'm guessing that you two are a part of it, judging by your clothing." "And who are you?" said Deidara. "Wait, why do you look so familiar? Have I met you before?" "No, I don't think so." "Ah, I remember now," said Deidara. "I've not seen you before, but I've heard your description. And I've even seen drawings of you. You're the one they call Naruto, right? You're that kid from Konoha, the fourth Hokage's son. The one that can steal other people's quirks." "Sasori, my man," he said, turning towards Sasori. "I must say, it's rather shocking to see him all the way out here." "You buffoon. Would you look at the ground?" Sasori said. Deidara looked down. "Wait, isn't that..." "Yes. The son of the Kazekage." "What did you do to him?" Sasori said. "Oh, nothing much. But he is dead," said Naruto. Sasori looked towards the body before one of his creations appeared and picked up the body. Naruto did not seem to care as he started to walking away from them, ignoring them. Sasori checked over the body as he realized the tail beast is gone. Naruto turned as his eyes turned red as he cut the explosive that was thrown towards him with his laser vision. As the thing still blew up even though it was cut in two pieces. However, Naruto did not move. The explosion did not faze him. Even if it was already not close enough, it was not meant to kill him. Not that his body would have been hurt by something that weak. Well, your reaction time is rather fast, Deidara said with a cocky smirk. But I'm afraid that we can't let you leave. You see, we were here for him. And now it looked like you did something that you weren't supposed to. Oh, and what exactly is that? Messing with us, said Deidara. And you surely don't want to do that. Besides, why would we just let you go like that? You're rather valuable across the entire elemental nation. So you want to capture me? Enough mindless talking. Tell us what you did to the one-tailed, Sasori said. I said I killed him. Where is the beast inside of him? Did you kill him with it inside? No. I took it. You what? Yes, you heard me. As Naruto smiled, you know, I don't really know much about the Akatsuki, so I figure I have to give something to get something in return. And judging by the look on your faces, I can tell that the Akatsuki is after tail beasts as well. But for what purpose though? That's none of your business. But you will hand over the one-tails immediately. Otherwise what? Said Naruto. You're gonna stop me? Well, we're not gonna let you walk out of here, said Deidara, as he pulled out some clay and supercharged them. He used his chakra to mold them into two soldiers. The both of them stood at roughly 7 feet tall. They had wide spears in their hand, their bodies made completely out of clay. Last chance, Deidara said, as Sasori created two soldiers of his own, his creation. As Naruto looked at the two objects created by each. Bring it, he said. Don't say I didn't warn you, said Deidara, as his two clay figures rushed forward at impressive speed. The first one threw his staff right towards Naruto's head. As Naruto was about to jump, it started to glow before it separated into 5 pieces. They then flew, wings extending from their back. Deidara, smirking, his hands was up the entire time. He could control them. One of them attached itself right to Naruto's chest. The other two attached to his arm. The other two attached to his leg. Don't worry. This won't kill you, but it will hurt like a bitch. Cats! Boom! An explosion went off as dust and smoke was sent everywhere. Well, that ought to take him down, Deidara said as he watched and waited. Something is wrong, Sasori said, as he quickly summoned 4 more of his creations. They appeared instantly. He was creating them, of course. It was his quirk. He was a one-man army puppeteer, able to control them like, well, puppets. The bodies next to him were smashed to pieces as Naruto fists pulverized them. Sasori moved out of the way. However, Naruto appeared so suddenly his right arm got hit. He was thrown, slamming across the sand as he bounced across the ground and dropped. He quickly righted himself though, but Naruto noticed there was no blood. How the hell are you still standing, said Deidara. I hit you head on. That wasn't enough to kill you, but it should have knocked you out. Naruto dusted off his shoulder to see sand falling off his body as he clenched his fist with a smirk. What's the point of telling you? You're gonna be a dead man anyways. With that, the ground under his feet shifted. as Naruto appeared in front of Deidara. Deidara was taken aback, surprised, as Naruto uses yo-yo quirk. With his natural speed, Naruto was able to move at a speed that Deidara was not expecting. As Naruto drive his fist forward, however, at the last moment, he turned his fist from Deidara's face, shocking Deidara himself, as Naruto's fist went towards the ground and pulverized it. Something dashed out of the earth, as 3 creatures were thrown towards Naruto. They were birds. However, Naruto had zipped back to his position and vanished. The real Deidara had emerged from the ground. That was a distraction. The moment Naruto had punched it, his hand would have gone through it, and it would have exploded upon him, knocking him out. How the hell did he know that I was in there? Deidara thought. Deidara! He heard Sasori shouted. Deidara turned. What the hell? Boom! Naruto's fist smashed against his face. There was a concussive force that was released. Blood and spit was sent sailing as Naruto tossed him. His body smashing across the ground, bouncing off it. Deidara landed in a heap as he coughed up blood. The entire right side of his face. His teeth were broken and they fell out of his mouth. His eye socket was shut. It was sunk in. His face was a mess. Naruto stood there. He did not purposely punch him with his full strength, because he wanted to test something. After absorbing the Shikaku, his normal strength had risen to ridiculous degrees. He was not even using his other quirks to amplify his strength. This was just the magnification of Orochimaru's experiment and his normal strength from absorbing so much quirk. And now, with the power of the Shikaku's strength, it had become something far more greater. Deidara was kind of flimsy, but still, not to mention his speed. Naruto realized that he was surrounded by 20 of these puppets, all of them having strange silver spears in their hand. They were about to skewer him in the stomach area. However, he slammed his foot down as sand tentacle exploded through their skulls. It grabbed their bodies and crushed them together, before tossing the pieces towards Sasori, who jumped away. However, before Sasori could land, "Miss me?" he heard behind him. The man was baffled, not expecting this in the slightest. Naruto clapped his head together and destroyed it. However, only broken pieces were left in his hand. The real Sasori stood behind Naruto in mid-air, as he had swapped places. He had a strange dagger in his hand. This wasn't a normal dagger. Sasori was also a poison expert. Aside from his quirk, he focused on poison. He was basically like a scorpion. He had poisons for all sorts of things, and this one would take down one of the most powerfulest. So, this would take him down. But before Sasori could make contact though, a red beam shot from around Naruto's head. As it curved and hit the blade, it exploded, forcing Sasori to jump back. Damn it, he cursed, shaking his arm off. That is when the ground underneath Naruto exploded. A gigantic creature, half whale, half scorpion. The mouth was a whale, as it was big enough to swallow Naruto. Deidara, who was gushing blood from his mouth, was back on his feet, his eyes still swollen shut, his face set in rage. "Cut!" he yelled. The thing exploded. Sasori had to summon 50 of his puppets to block him from the explosion. As Deidara was pissed off, he did not care who was in the vicinity. When you get pissed, you get explosive. And this was a reaction to Naruto pulverizing his face with one punch. When the dust finally settled, Naruto was standing there. However, his right arm was gone. The left side of his face was gouged out. His side was missing. His chest had a huge hole in it. But he was smiling, a crooked smile. Slowly but surely, the sand at his feet started to reform his body. Gaara quirk was truly marvelous at its fullest, and with his body taking it on, he's invincible, he thought with a smirk. However, Deidara was grinning, a half-side grin, with his left, mouth, because the other one was swollen. Well, it was one mouth, but still, he looked like a freak right now. Suddenly, Naruto dropped to his knees and started to cough up blood. Didn't see that coming, huh? Deidara shouted. His words were a slur, as Naruto looked in his hand to see blood where he had coughed. Oh, I see. You send your clay into the sand all around. So once I reabsorbed, you blew them up inside of me. Exactly. And now you're done for. Do it, Sasori! The moment he said that, Naruto was assaulted. 10, no 20, no 50. Sasori kept on upping the numbers as they dropped all their might down on Naruto. His body was being pulverized right in the center, until the lack of moisture that was already so low was gone. Flames. Intensive flames swallowed them all. It was like a miniature sun as Naruto stepped out, his arms covered in flames, his eyes burning, even his hair was burning. A grin on his face that would have been quite effective if I couldn't control my blood and get rid of your toxin out of my body. Now, you all die. Naruto slammed his hand together. I call this solar bomb, he said. Upon saying that, his body started to generate heat that was not natural. The sand at his feet started to crystallize. Both men moved as fast as they could. Deidara jumping on a bird as he flew off. As Naruto yelled, the violent blast resonated all throughout the hidden sand village. As sand ninjas were making their way, they had to stop as the heat assaulted them. They had no water techniques to use in this environment, so they were affected badly. The solar flare seemed to go on for a minute straight. Luckily, the two Akatsuki members had gotten away. Deidara had flew up straight into the sky with his bird. Sasori had used his puppets as shields. However, he summoned 100 and there was only 5 left. And those 5 had melt parts all over their body, just to show how intense the flame was. And he was a far distance away. That is when it happened. 2 hands made from sand shot through Deidara's bird and grabbed his leg. He tried to pry them off, but they wrapped around him tightly. Several more shot up and stabbed into his side, causing the man to wince out in pain as blood started to drip. Paint in the sand. Deidara opened his mouth as he spat out clay. The clay turned into a ball like a cannon. It started to glow until boom! He was freed as he collapsed to the ground on one knee. He held his side that was bleeding badly. As he looked around, that is when Sasori came to his aid. What the hell is this guy? Everything we threw at him, he just keeps on getting up. You're right. No more holding back. Kill him then, Deidara asks. He can taste it. He's strong. Deidara smirked. That is what I wanted to hear, as he was pissed about his face. He then started to create something grand, as him and Sasori planned their move. Naruto was walking as the sand was crystallizing, as he had stepped out of his era of the solar flare. His body was covered in flames. He was done playing around. It was time to end this. He could feel the sand ninjas coming. That is when he saw another bunch of puppets coming towards him. However, he noticed the other 2 had stayed clear as they were on the bird. That is when he noticed the puppets were holding something. A strange figurine with a strange face. Naruto felt the pressure and the heat coming from it. Shit. Boom! The explosion was so violent. The sand could not take anymore. Chaos, destruction, rain. Everything was blown apart. Well, nothing was really out here, but the village felt the backlash. Buildings, the walls were torn down, cracked and broken to pieces. They were gone. The bird finally settled back down. As boatman lowered himself. I can't see him. You think he got blown to pieces? Deidara asked. I don't think so, Sasori said, as he created 5 of his puppets. However, there was nothing that he could see. Sasori felt something strange. What's wrong? Deidara asked. One of his puppets jumped back up to the bird. Deidara looked towards him strangely. This is not me, Sasori said, panic in his voice. That is when the eyeball of Naruto suddenly regained shape and focus on the both of them. The puppet chest then burst open as Naruto's arms emerged. Shocking boatman, Sasori was taken aback. He was the first one that got grabbed, as Naruto slammed his heel in Deidara's face, blasting him off the bird. But he wasn't done yet as he outstretched his arm and grabbed Deidara's leg and pulled him back. Deidara, who was already suffering from a face injury, was hit once again, leaving him a bit concussed. This time though, Naruto's tongue extended and ripped right through the man's chest. He looked down towards the thing in his chest as he spasmed in pain. But Naruto was still not done. 2 beams shot from his eyes. It slammed into Deidara, forcing him into the earth. Sasori created several puppets. As Naruto was still holding on to him, they stabbed right into Naruto's butt. His body separated and divided, and they all missed as Naruto's hand was still holding Sasori. Sasori started to scream as Naruto realized why there was no blood. Sasori had placed pieces of his puppets, durable parts, under his flesh. As Naruto squeezed and squeezed, Sasori kept on trying to punch him, but Naruto's body kept on separated. His body flew all over as the hand lifted Sasori up. Naruto's face grinned as squash. Blood and guts, brain matter started to fly everywhere as Naruto crushed his skull, dropping the remains of Sasori. All of his puppets, they start to fizzle out of existence as they vanish. Well, the ones that were not destroyed, the other ones still remain their parts. Naruto smirked as he plummeted down to the ground. His body reformed in mid-air. Kabuto's quirk that he used for surveillance was truly wonderful in a battle. However, he could have never reached his potential because he was too weak. As Naruto realized, he could force his body into inanimate objects and take control of them. So that is what he did. He had not used any of his most powerful quirks for that battle. Well, some of them, but he wanted to see how he would stack up without going all out, taking down 2 S-rank ninjas without going all out. That is how powerful he has become. But despite that, he knew that these 2 were not on the level of all the forces the elemental nation has to offer. So he still needed to become stronger. He needed more power. As he landed right in front of Deidara, Deidara coughed up blood as he was wounded all over. However, he was smirking. At least, I'll get to take you with me. What? Said Naruto. That is when Naruto noticed the pieces of Sasori puppet was connected. Deidara could send his explosive into almost anything. They all started to glow. As Deidara's body itself started to glow, he laughed psychotically. If I'm going down, I'll take you down as well, he yelled. As Naruto felt the influx of power, Deidara was using every ounce of his chakra to turn himself into a nuclear bomb. As Naruto felt the sand ninjas coming, he bent his knees and leaped to the sky, pushing off with brute force. As he created a sonic boom, Deidara erupted. Even as he had flown off, Naruto felt the pressure as he was blasted out of the sky. As his body crashed hard, several sand ninjas were eviscerated by the blast. They got too close. Their bodies were turned to ashes. Naruto picked himself up covered in sand. Well, that was something, he thought. As the entire area was blackened, all the sand had been blown away, showing the rough earth that was underneath, to how deep the explosion had brought everything. That was truly remarkable. He liked a good explosion himself, but this was just a trial test. He went after the weakest tail beast to want tails to see how he would stack up. And he would not stop until he get them all. He could feel them, he could taste them, smell them, hear them. That wonderful chakra. He looked towards the Megatama in his hand. It started to glow, guiding him towards the others. I'm coming, he said, as he made his way off. Time skip. Look at all of this, Mito said, sadness in her tone. She was currently standing in the remains of the desert. Once a flush desert with sand all over. Now a smoking crater everywhere. The sand was blackened and the earth was being shown. The place was a mess. The walls were destroyed. Cracks on the ones that still stand. The village was not holding up so well. The Kazekage was in a coma. He had took too much blows to the head from Naruto and left in an unconscious state. Baki had taken the leadership, being the Kazekage right hand man, to keep things stable until their leader wake up, which will be soon. His body had been severely battered and beaten, and broken as well. He had broken a lot of bones. Temari and Conqueror were still unconscious. They were also badly roughed up, having severe wounds all over, as Naruto did not hold back on them. He did not take their quirk though. It was not something that he desired. However, countless others' quirk had been taken. Quirks that would have proven to be not that powerful, but in the hands of Naruto they were chaotic. Menma was glancing around as he was here as well. Several Konoha teams were sent here to help the people of the sand. They were good allies after all. As Menma wanted to see if there was anything here that could help him find that monster. As Mito was scooting down, Menma walked up towards her as he stood beside her. We have to stop him, Mito said. What do you think I've been trying to do? Menma asked. Its tone sounded a bit irritating. Look, I'm not blaming you, alright? It's just... despite everything, he's our responsibility. We have to be the one to end this treachery, this chaos. We don't even know what he did to the Kazekage son. From the reports, they say that he was here for Gaara mostly. And I'm sure that he's not alive anymore. We have to stop this. You remember what he said? He's gonna come after us very soon. And he's gonna hurt our family. We cannot allow him to do that. We have a new baby sister to protect. Menma clenched his fist as he clenched his robotic arm. The next time we meet face to face, I'll kill him, said Menma. Not just you, she said. I'll be right there to deliver the final strike as well. Until then, let's help our ally, she said to him. Time skip. Conan stood in her daughter's room. Her daughter had been out. She was out on a mission with her team. Since gaining promotion, she was leading several teams lately. However, the Akatsuki recently had a meeting about the death of the two Akatsuki members. News had spread like wildfire. Orochimaru the Sun was dead, and Naruto attacked the Hidden Sen. The Akatsuki was not mentioned there because, well, no one saw them. However, remains of what used to be Deidara and Sasori was found. Well, mostly Sasori because of his puppets. Deidara had blown himself to pieces. It was chaotic. The Akatsuki main goal right now was to hunt down Naruto and make him join the organization. Its efforts would be needed to take the place of what he caused, the destruction of two of their members, as Nagato wanted that way. This boy has startled their plans, and not to mention, from Zetsu's investigation it was said that he was after Gaara. That meant he was after the One Tails. So the Akatsuki was now hunting for this boy. However, the reason why Conan was in her daughter's room was because she knew where her daughter kept her journal. She was worried. She saw something a long time ago in her daughter's eyes. The same look when she had when she fell for Nagato. Their past in the Hidden Rain was filled with chaos and destruction, but they made it through, with a lot of losses on their end. And she saw that same look in her daughter's eyes. She and that boy had a mental bond, and her daughter started to understand him. It gave her a better perspective into his life. Conan did not like that because she was worried that her daughter might have some contact with this boy. And Conan knew if that was the case, this would be bad. They had kept their daughter out of the organization. They did not want her involved. Yes, she knew what they did, but they did not want her involved. They tried their best to keep her safe, to build a better world for her. But this boy was becoming a problem. With a heavy heart, her body broke into papers as she scoured the room. Under her daughter's bed, under the false ground, she kept her journal, locked away, like any teenage girl would. Conan found it as she quickly unraveled it. She started to skim through, not focusing on anything that did not concern her. What she was looking for was her eyes widened. Masassa did not have anyone to talk to, so she wrote everything down in her journal. She did not tell her friends or anyone because she didn't want this information to come out. Her mother and father did tell her that this boy was nothing but trouble, so she did not tell them that they were still connected. Conan read and read and read. Her eyes went wide as she could not believe it. This much. This was bad. Really, really bad, she thought to herself. All this time, her daughter had been in contact with the boy. Time skip. Naruto sat in a cave. In front of him there was a giant piece of meat roasting over the fire. As he looked at it with empty eyes, it was pretty lonely, but he fought through it. He was alone after all. He was doing this by himself. As he thought about that though, red hair flashed into his mind. Strangely enough, he should really hate red hair because of his family, but what could he say? It did not look that bad on her. It's been some time since he spoke to her, since their connection happened. As Naruto took the meat off the fire and bit into it, as he released a heavy breath, his body had fully accumulated with Gaara's quirk and the sand. He did not use the full power of the sand or the Shikaku because he felt like his body would have, well, gone overboard. However, he could feel Shikaku inside of him. His body was different. He was not a Jinchuriki. He fused with the tail beast just like he absorbed Quirks. It could be ripped from him with a special measure, he could feel that. But they could not take it from him because there was no seal. But still, he felt like it could be taken, but he did not know how. The chakra was still in him. Something was bugging him. He was basically a tail beast right now because he fused the One Tails. And ever since doing that, because of his connection to the others, because of his quirk, he could feel something. He could feel the nine-tailed beasts, and yet there was something else. He had the One Tails, and yet there was still 9 things out there. Something that was pulling him towards it. However, it did not feel right. His body told him not to go to it. He could feel his body trying to fight off the pull. There was something, but he was not sure what it was. But that would not stop him. He would gain what he wanted. He would collect all the 9 beasts and absorb them. As he teared the meat to pieces, biting into it, replenishing himself. He did not need to eat that much. His quirk, well, Hashirama's quirk, sunlight, revitalized his body. It made him stronger, and his body felt revitalized, but he still liked to eat. He could feel the All Might quirk getting stronger inside of him. Soon he will be at 100%, and then he will be unstoppable. Nothing would be able to stop him, he thought with a grin on his face. As he made his way off. Time skip. As Naruto was sleeping, he was inside of a ship, a rather large ship. Said ship was heading towards Kiri. He had on a disguise so no one could recognize him. After all, he just wants some quiet time. As the ship would take a couple of days to reach there. He was going after the 6 and 3 tails. Kumo was the strongest village after Konoha. He would go after them, and then Konoha. First Kiri and then he would go after the stone, then Kumo and then Konoha. That is the order that he was going to go after them. He did not need to take the beasts one by one, so he did not need a complete count order. As he rested, secured in his room, he drifted off, only to awaken inside of the space. A far distance away, Mikasa was still on her mission, as she was sleeping inside of a tent. As she woke up in here as well. "It's you," she said. "Why do you seem surprised? You act like this is the second time that we're doing this," he said to her. "Well, it's been a long time," she said. "Yes, I know that." "Did you find a way to block me?" she asked. "If I did, we wouldn't be having this conversation." "Oh," she said, as they sat together. Across from one another, to be exact. She looked at him. "You seem tired. Not physically, but mentally. Are you okay? And what if I say no? How are you gonna help me?" "Well, I can listen. I heard rumors. I'm not at my home, but I heard rumors, talks. Orochimaru the Sannin is quite a famous individual, and people are saying that he's dead. Killed by you." "You couldn't wait to bring that up, could you?" said Naruto. "No, I could not, because I want to know what you're gonna do now. You did what you said you would do. You never trust him. He's dead. But not only him. Jury of the Sannin is also dead as well. News is flying out everywhere. And where are you getting this information?" "Well, I'm on a long-term mission. People talk," she said to him. "I ran into a few Konoha ninja, overheard them, and some other ninjas talking about Orochimaru's demise. Your name is on everyone's lips. People are afraid of you. They don't want their quirk to be stolen." As Naruto realized that she did not hear about the sand yet, so he said nothing. The location where she lived and the Akatsuki was intermingled. He was not sure about everything, but he would not bring it up. "Yes, I did kill them," said Naruto. "Well, you know what this means. Konoha will stop at nothing to kill you this time. They've been trying to do that since day one. Yes, but now, your father can publicly drive the stake at your head without any repercussions from anything. After all, in their eyes you're a monster." "Maybe I am," said Naruto. "Yeah, maybe you are. But aren't we all monsters?" she said to him. "Yeah, I guess you're right." He was being a lot more open than usual. As he just looked at her. "What's wrong? Is there something on my face?" He gave her a blank look. As she simply chuckled to herself. "What? It's just a joke." "Well, it's not funny," said Naruto. She rolled her eyes. "Well, don't you got a sense of humor? You know, it's strange. Despite after everything, you still don't trust me," she said to him. "But I guess I understand. You've had your trust broken in a way that, well, most people can't understand. I mean, your own father. He tried to kill you. He's the reason why you lost your greatest friends. So I'm not surprised you don't trust me. Yet you still talk to me. I'm sure that you don't give anyone else a time of day. Throughout the past 3 years, did you have a meaningful relationship with anyone? She asks. What's that supposed to mean? I mean, did you have any friends when you were at Orchimar base? Did you gain friends? No, I don't need them. I thought so. Let me ask you this though. It's a bit personal. Are you a virgin? She asks. Naruto looked at her. There was no emotion that was shown on his face. I'm not gonna answer that. So you are, she said. As she giggled to herself, finding it rather funny. As she found their conversation to be light and calmful, she felt calm around him despite the things he's done. Aren't you gonna ask me the same thing? I don't care, said Naruto. Well, I'm one too, she said. So I guess we're alike in that department. He simply leaned back in his chair. Why are you telling me this? So I can get to know you. You need a friend, don't you? And why do you need friends? Don't you have enough? Naruto asks. Yeah, I do have friends, but I guess your memory is being transferred to me. It's brought us together closely. Well, me to you more, but you felt my emotions. But because of your whole personality, you're not accepting them. You refuse to acknowledge anyone else, despite us been talking for the past 3 years. As Naruto looked away, see what I mean? You're a hard ass. And you're annoying, said Naruto. Only to you, she said with a smile. But it doesn't matter. We're friends. And who said that? Said Naruto. I did. Got a problem with it? Do something about it, she said. Well, you can't, she said. So shut up and be quiet. As Naruto raised the eyebrow. If it's tough love you want, it's tough love you're gonna get. She said as her red hair swayed as she got to her feet. Do you hear me? She asked. She saw a tiny crack appear on his lips. A smirk. And what's so funny? You think that you're being intimidating, said Naruto. As she glared at him. However, the smile on his lips seemed to extend slightly. As Naruto couldn't help it, actually talking to someone that he didn't want to kill right away, someone that he did not despise, was actually a bit calming. However, their closeness was gonna be chaotic. After all, Naruto was an enemy of the organization known as the Akatsuki, which her family is in charge of. And now her mother knew that they had a connection. This was gonna be bad. Well, Kiri was gonna receive much more chaos because Naruto was coming. And the tail beasts are under Yagura's control. Well, he had the 3 tails. The 6th tails is within the village. A loyal subordinate of Kiri. And Naruto will have to go right in to face everyone. But you're gonna have to wait until next time because I'm gonna be ending this episode right here. If you want something more to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.